afternoon and welcome to Colfe's BBC News Report. I'm Louis.
And I'm Molly. Today the headlines are Max is interviewing the girls about outdoor pursuits and Oscar is interviewing Mrs. Smith about his book.
Did you know that it only costs 1/3 to go to a university in Netherlands than to go to UK?
I can't believe that.
Well, Kira and Connor are talking to our headmaster about going Dutch.
Hello and welcome to Colfe School. I'm Kira.
And I'm Connor. Last week, Colfe held Going Dutch, a conference about studying in the Netherlands.
This is an alternative to studying in the UK. Many universities from all over the UK and the Netherlands attended. Both the headmaster and the delegates gave presentations in our Beardwood Theatre, and there were lots of stands set up to find out more information. A great turnout of sixth formers and their families. We wanted to ask our headmaster his thoughts on going Dutch.
Well, thank you for joining us today, taking time out of your busy schedule. But we just wanted to ask you a few questions about the Dutch universities.
Of course.
So, why did you become interested in Dutch universities?
I think the Netherlands as a country have shown a greater commitment to higher education than we have in this country in recent years. And I like that because a commitment to higher education is consistent with a commitment to the future of the country. If we take just one example, the example of Maastricht University, that was a new university which the Dutch created back in 1976, and what they did was they took over the town hall in Maastricht, they took over all of the civic buildings at the centre of the old town and they turned it into the university, so that the university became the absolute heart of the town. And that is consistent with that very, very high level of commitment to higher education that you get in Holland, which sadly we don't see to the same extent in this country. In recent years, the British universities have had their funding cut to a very, very large extent, and our students now have to pay £9,000 a year tuition fees. If you go to Holland, which we can as members of the European community, if you go to Holland, you pay tuition fees of about £1,600 a year. So it's not only very good, it's also relatively cheap.
Okay then, well, what are the educational benefits of studying at the Dutch universities?
Well, I think that's a good question, and it's an important question because the approach to study is very, very different in Holland. In England, a lot of the university teaching is done through lectures, so you get maybe 200 people in a room being talked at by one university lecturer or professor or whatever. In Holland, most of the teaching happens in small teaching groups, which are called seminars. So you might get fewer than 20 pupils around a table. Everybody has to participate in the discussion. They take it in turns to lead the discussion. The teacher is there to facilitate the discussion and to keep it on track. But it's very different from the role of the lecturer in the British university. And what that means is that the students have to engage with their learning. Everybody has to participate. You can't just sit in the lecture and go to sleep. In Holland, you have to engage.
What advice will you be giving to the pupils at Colfe about applying to Dutch universities?
I will be giving the same advice that I give every year to the Colfe's sixth form pupils, and the lower sixth pupils are now starting to think about their universities. I expect the vast majority of them to go to university. I'll ask them to think about what's best for them as individuals and to think about what opportunities will be available to them beyond university. So, for example, you know that if you go to a top British university, like Oxford or Cambridge or the LSE or Imperial, you've got a very good chance of getting a very good job afterwards. But what I will also be saying is that the employment rates of these Dutch universities, particularly if you wanted to work in Europe, in Brussels, perhaps with the European Commission, they have very good employment rates as well. So I'm going to encourage people to think as widely as possible about what's best for them. For some people, it will be best to go to Oxford or Cambridge or Bristol or Durham. For some people, it would be appropriate to consider options that are outside of the United Kingdom, not only in Holland, but also the United States. I think increasingly people will be looking across the Atlantic, as well as across the English Channel, for alternatives to the UK universities.
Okay, well, would a student need to be able to speak Dutch whilst they were at this university?
Well, no, because Holland is a very small country and nobody else speaks Dutch. So they do a lot of the teaching in English. And all of the universities that we had at the conference at Colfe on Wednesday have faculties which teach exclusively in English. And the students are, in some cases, from Holland, in some cases from the United Kingdom, but also from Germany and from other European countries. So you've got a very good international mix of people in these seminar groups of 20.
So what would you say were the most useful points that came out of the conference?
It was an opportunity for higher education advisors from a very wide range of schools in the independent sector to find out more about an exciting alternative to British universities. We had delegates from St Paul's Girls' School, from Dulwich, from Allains, from Radley, from Bryanston, from City of London School, lots of independent schools, and all of us had an opportunity here direct from 10 of the best universities in Holland and indeed some of the best universities in the world about what they have to offer beyond A-level.
If you were applying for a university, would you go to an English one or a Dutch university?
That's a very difficult question to answer. I would love to go back to university. I would love to have another chance to spend another 3 years exploring ideas and finding out more about the subject that I'm particularly interested in, which happens to be classics, Latin and Greek and archaeology and ancient philosophy, amongst other things. What I might do is go to Oxford or Cambridge for 3 years to do my first degree and then go to one of the Dutch universities like Leiden or Maastricht or Utrecht to do a master's course, perhaps in international relations, something completely different, which would give me an opportunity to get work experience in Brussels with the European Commission. Maastricht in particular has very, very good links for work experience with Brussels, and that would increase the range of options that I had beyond university, so perhaps I might not have to be a headmaster.
So what employment opportunities will people gain by attending the Dutch universities compared to the UK universities?
One of the things that came out of the conference is that the Dutch universities are much further ahead in terms of their links with industry and with the political world and with employment opportunities of one sort and another. It's not unusual for politicians in Holland to take a year out of politics and go back to university to do lectures or to lead seminars. It's also quite normal for captains of industry, the big industrial conglomerates that are based in Holland. It's not unusual for their leading executives to go back into university for a year and lead seminars. And that linkage between the academic world and the commercial world and the political world is very, very close and is very important. From the point of view of the students, that opens up a tremendous range of opportunities for work experience, internships as they call them, and it's one of the particular strengths of the Dutch system.
Well, thank you for taking the time out to speak with us.
Well, it's a pleasure, and good luck with the rest of your investigations.
Thank you.
And thank you for that, Connor and Kira. Maybe I could consider one of those options in the future, but now we're going over to Max with the Outdoor Pursuits. He's interviewing the girls about the...
Hang on a second. Sorry to interrupt you. There's been disturbance in the field. Our roving reporters, Ethan, James and Ollie, are going to report on this.
Hello, this is Ethan, James and Ollie reporting from Colfe School for BBC News School Report. It's just a normal day at Colfe School, or is it? Why is there a fire truck on the field? It's a bird or a plane? No, it's a merlin. Yes, it is just an normal day at Colfe School. Colfe School has a designated helicopter landing site. The helicopters could land at any time, usually at lunch or a break time. We decided to ask Captain Joyce all about it. Why do these helicopters land on the field?
The school is a registered helicopter landing site. It's close to central London, which makes it both attractive to land on and a challenge as well because of how busy the airspace is. And it shows collaboration between our cadet unit and the rest of the armed forces in terms of working as a team and sharing a resource that they find really valuable. Just as the team on the helicopter works, you've got the pilots looking out the front and the load masters looking out either the side or the rear doors as well.
What types of helicopters land in the field?
We have a real mixture of helicopters that come and land at Colfe's. We have helicopters from all three armed forces, so the Royal Navy, the Royal Air Force and the Army. We've had Sea Kings, Lynx, Gazelle, Chinook, Merlin, and we've even had an Apache helicopter come and land here.
How long does it take you to learn how to fly one of these helicopters?
To fly helicopters within the Army, you either need to be a Lance Corporal recommended for promotion to Corporal or an officer. You start your training on fixed wing aircraft, so learning how to fly a straightforward plane. You learn the basics of the air, basic principles of flight, and then you move on to onto flying helicopters. By the time you've done that, you're quite an experienced pilot and you've got thousands of flying hours underneath your belt.
Can you outline the recruitment process for the CCF for us?
So we recruit in the Combined Cadet Force at the end of Year 8, so after the Easter holidays is when we start the recruit training cadre. We do a series of Monday and Wednesday evening trainings, and that culminates in a recruitment week run down at the St Port's training area, where you'll be put through your paces in terms of drill and physical fitness and service knowledge as well.
What does the CCF do to help new recruits?
The CCF does an awful lot to help new recruits. We'll develop your self-confidence massively, we'll improve your physical fitness, we teach you new skills, and we put you in situations where you get to practice your leadership training and put leadership skills into real practice in real life.
How committed do you have to be as a recruit in the CCF?
You have to be very committed as a recruit in the CCF. The cadets isn't for everybody, and we certainly don't want to force people to do it. However, if the staff that run it are giving up volunteering their time to help run it, we expect that same level of commitment from the cadets as well.
How long have you been connected to the Army, and how long have you been a captain?
I've been connected to the Army for about 6 years now. I was a cadet when I was here at school. I left Colfe, went to do my officer training, and then you reach the rank of captain within about 3 to 5 years, depending on how you're doing.
Do you think I would go far in the CCF?
You get out what you put in, so the more effort you put in, the more you'll get out of it, and I'm sure you'll have a fantastic time.
Well, thank you for your time.
You're very welcome.
This is James,
Ethan
and Ollie signing off for BBC School Report. This is Colfe School, back to you in the studio.
Well, thank you guys. I don't know about you, but I'd like to have a go on one of those helicopters.
But now we're going back to Max with the Outdoor Pursuits. He's going to interview some girls about what they thought about the trip.
Hi, my name is Max, and today I'll be finding out what the girls in Year 8 thought about the Outdoor Pursuits trip. Hi, I'm Max and I'm here with Lucy, Molly, Eppie and Rachel. So Lucy, what was your favourite activity of the trip?
My favourite activity was high ropes.
And what did you have to do?
Well, the rope course was up in the trees and you had to climb on ropes and wooden beams, and there was even a zip wire.
That sounds amazing. So Molly, out of all the amazing activities that there were, which one did you like the most?
Well, overall I enjoyed the whole trip, but my favourite one was kayaking canoeing.
What new skills did you learn?
Well, I've never done it before, so it was a completely new experience for me.
Wow. And Eppie, what was your favourite activity?
I found gorge walking the best.
What did you have to do?
I had to slide down. We had to do 3 things, but my favourite was slide down and slide into a big pool.
Amazing. And finally, Rachel, what was your favourite activity?
My favourite activity was the mountain walking.
And what were the highlights?
Well, it was a really hot day, and once we got to the top of the mountain, the views were amazing.
I'm sure they were. This is Max reporting for BBC News School Report.
Thank you for that interview, Max. I'm just glad you didn't fall out of the trade.
Now, Oscar is interviewing Mr. Smith about his all-new book. However, Oscar is talking about his book as well.
Hello, I'm Oscar, and I'm just about to interview Mr. Joel Smith, aka Rufus Garlick, and his brilliant new book, The Disappearance Club, or a Polish Detective in London. You have written a novel, The Disappearance Club, or a Polish Detective in London. What is it about?
Well, it's a detective novel, it's a mystery novel, it's a revenge thriller. It's set in southeast London in the 1970s. There's a man who's been up to no good in Poland during the war in the 1940s, and his past catches up with him. And essentially it's about whether a good man can stay a good man when times are hard, in the sort of real rough brutality of war, whether he becomes a rough, brutal man himself, or once he's done that, whether he can ever be forgiven and become essentially the good man he really is deep down.
Yeah. Okay. Have you always written?
Yes. I mean, I've always enjoyed writing. I've only really started finishing longer novels in the last 5 years or so. Before that, I'd start and stop. A bit like a sort of clapped out old car. I'd go for a while and then it would, I'd sort of, the old engine would falter and die. But these days I'm finishing longer pieces. I've written a couple of novels actually. But it's only really in the last 5 years that I've actually sort of knuckled down to finishing longer pieces.
Okay. How long did this book take you?
Well, this particular one took me about 3 or 4 weeks. I did it in the Christmas holiday. Did very little else. Wrapped a few presents, but apart from that, I got up very early. Did about 3 or 4 hours in the morning. Did about the same in the evening. So this particular novel didn't take more than about 3 or 4 weeks. I've written one other which took me about 6 months. So this one pretty quick, really.
Yeah. I understand you write under the name of Rufus Garlick. Why not J. Smith?
Well, there are a lot of J. Smiths out there in the world, and I think with anything, where you want the public to take note and you want your work to get out there, I think it's better to have maybe a less common name. And so there aren't many Rufus Garlicks in the world. Seemed a good one. I used to live next door to someone with the surname Garlick, and I've never met too many of them. And so I borrowed that surname. Came up with another first name, and the J. Smith. Well, I'm still called that out in the wider world, but for writing purposes, I am Rufus Garlick.
Okay. Are you writing anything else?
Well, I am actually. I'm writing another detective novel. It's already going much more slowly than the one we've been talking about, because I said that I wrote the first in 3 weeks, and it's been already been longer than that. I've done about 2 chapters or so. Detective story, a bit of a thriller again, but much younger age group.
Yeah, okay. So it's kind of like teenagers and...
It has. I'd say sort of sixth formers, and they're solving a crime. It's a murder mystery, and there's a murder right at the beginning of the story, first couple of pages. A girl in the sixth form is the one who finds the body first of all, and she and some friends end up solving the mystery.
And are these 2 books linked in any way?
Well, you might have to wait and see for that. I can't give too much away, but maybe there's a linkage, maybe there isn't.
Okay.
Today I'm interviewing Oscar, talking to him about his creative writing, seeing some of the kinds of things that he's doing. Oscar, can you tell us a little bit about the writing you were doing?
My book is a short story. It's based in a council estate in Plumstead, South East London, and it's kind of based around the youth of today, but I decided to express people in the form of animals because I thought that would be a stronger effect and it would make me stand out from the group of writers.
So there's some sort of symbolism working there?
Yes.
Tell us a little bit more about that. I mean, what kind of animals and how do the different species represent the different people? Let us know a little about that.
Well, essentially the more dangerous, rough kind of people would be more vicious, dangerous animals, so dogs, pit bulls kind of stuff, anything that's represented as a kind of, maybe I might even put in some lions maybe, if they go abroad. That's just a thought. It's mainly just local animals.
And what about the nicer, more easygoing, sensitive characters?
They'll usually just be cats, occasionally a rabbit.
So the most easygoing are the sort of rabbits, maybe?
Yeah.
Okay. And how long have you been working on this?
We're working on this book for about a week now, and I'm about halfway through, so it's coming on quite well.
All right. And are you always happy with the writing you do, or is it sometimes a sort of tough, hard process, and you've really got to knock it out, or are you generally, a satisfied, easygoing writer?
Sometimes I'll just click and I have an idea and I can write for ages and I'll get stuck and I get quite frustrated. Then I tend to leave it for a day or two, then do half the book again in about an hour. So I tend to do most of the writing in one short space of time and then leave it and then go on to it again.
And do you do this sort of, do you sort of pop yourself away in isolation, or do you have friends around you? I mean, how does it work?
I definitely do enjoy writing around my friends because they can do their own thing and I'll just be there. Maybe in class if I get a bit free time with the teachers, then they're all happy to let me write. And it's fine because the other children are happy if they can just talk and stuff. So it's good for everyone, really.
Okay. Tell us a little bit more about the characters themselves. Have you got a real central character, or 2 or 3 central characters, or is it all sort of there are lots of different ones all interacting?
There's probably one of the main characters who's a cat, but he's kind of like, he's supposed to be a nice kid, a nice, friendly, normal, middle-class kid, but he's getting mixed up with these kind of rough people. So I thought that would represent quite a lot of people today as how they are, but I've done it in the form of a cat again.
Okay, and what about sort of inspiration? Have you taken your inspiration from anywhere or anyone else?
I've taken my inspiration mainly from a TV show called The Mighty Boosh, because they express the form of animals quite a lot, and they use them as then they can speak and stuff.
And you talked about sometimes liking to write when there are other people around. Are there any other people who have inspired your help in any way?
Yeah, I do have a friend called Joe who's helped me do some illustrations and passed a couple of ideas around about more tasks and troubles that these characters can get into. He also does quite nice, he writes the front covers and he'll do kind of like little fake copyright signs, try and make it all official.
And you talked at the moment about you being in the middle of a book. Are you? Would you say you're a third of the way through, halfway through, near the end? Whereabouts are you with it? Would you say?
I think I'm sort of a little bit near the end at the moment. I'm just about to do a few final scenes.
Okay. And do you see those sort of totally crystallised in your mind, and you know where you're going to go with them, or is it still up there somewhere, waiting for you to sort of put it all together?
I have quite a good idea, but I might need to improvise for the last few bits at the end, so I'm not too sure what's definitely going to happen, but I have quite a good idea.
And what was your title again? Tell us the title.
The title is Philip the Neon Cat.
Philip the Neon Cat.
Yeah.
Look out for that, everyone. Philip the Neon Cat. Sounds like a good read. Thank you very much, Oscar.
Would you mind reading my book and maybe giving me some advice on it and writing a bit of it for me, if you don't mind?
Well, look, I'll definitely help you out, and I'll be honoured to have a read. I don't know if I'm going to write any of it because I think that's going to be your own original input. I mean, it's I don't know about a collaborative piece between us, but certainly I'd love to have a little look at it. And I think I've got a rival here. I'm going to have to watch this fella.
This is Oscar Knight signing off from BBC School Report. Thank you for listening.
Thank you for that interview. Definitely a couple of books worth looking out for in the future.
Now we're going to go behind the scenes and see what happens in our newsroom.
Hello, thank you Louis and thank you Molly. You join me Ben here in the Colfe newsroom, and I'm going to take a look around and see what's going on today. James, could you talk to us a bit about what you're doing today?
Yeah, sure. Just netballing some stuff really. Colfe elaborating on the fact that most of the netball's really successful.
That's great, thank you for talking to us. Hello George, could you talk to us a bit about what you're doing on the Colfe News Report?
I am doing Twitter's 7th birthday today, and they have over 200 million tweeters online.
Wow, that's a lot. Can you talk to us about if there's anything going on at Colfe?
There's always tweeting activity happening around at Colfe. In fact, there are 7 departments at the Colfe school that have a Twitter account, and we're hoping for more followers on Twitter to join us.
Definitely, that's very interesting. Joe, could you talk to us a bit about what you're doing?
We're doing a weather report on the weather.
Good weather or typical English weather?
Typical English weather really, cloudy, foggy, not very sunny at all.
Okay, let's move on. Max, could you talk to us a bit about what you're doing?
I'm reporting on whether eating insects could save the world in terms of hunger problems that come with overpopulation, but it's all about could people get over their kind of fears and squeamishness and view insects as a diet.
Gosh, that's very interesting. You learn something new every day. Ethan, could you talk to us a bit about what you're doing at the moment?
Well, at the moment we're just finishing off and editing our report on the Army helicopter landing out in the fields out there, where we're just talking about the CCF as well with it.
I definitely look forward to hearing that full report. Anyway, back to the studio with Molly and Louis. Thank you very much for joining me.
Gosh, it looks busy in there. I'm glad I'm over here.
Now over to the weather with George, Joe and Blake.
Hello and welcome to the weather report with me, Joe.
Me, George.
And me, Blake. And now here's Joe with the local weather report.
Thanks, Blake. As you can see, London is looking quite cloudy, with average temperatures of 3. There is a chance of sunshine in the eastern districts and a chance of rain in Hampshire. But altogether, London is looking cloudy, with highs of 6 and a chance of rain of 59%. Over to you, Blake.
In Scotland today, we've got quite a dry and cloudy morning, with snow coming in from the north. Also, in Wales, we're going to have a dry and cloudy morning, but remember to wear your raincoat because there's going to be outbreaks of rain coming in from the west.
In Northern Ireland, it's going to be a frosty start to the day, but dry and bright later on. But watch out, because from the south, it's going to be some outbreaks of sleet and snow, so wear your raincoats.
Now, we're going to tell you some very fascinating facts about the weather.
Did you know that in 1932, the US was so cold that Niagara Falls froze completely solid?
Did you know 9 out of 10 people that have been struck by lightning survive?
Did you know you can see rainbows in the dark?
Did you know that a hurricane in 10 minutes produces more power than all the world's nuclear powers combined?
Did you know men are 6 times more likely to be struck than lightning than women?
Did you know the oak tree is the most common tree to be struck by lightning?
Thank you. This has been Colfe Weather Report with me, Blake,
me, Joe, and me, George.
Stay classy, Colfes. Back to you, Lou.
Well, I hope the sun does shine this week. I'm sick of this rain.
Signing off the BBC School Report with me, Molly.
And me, Lou.
Thank you for watching.
Goodbye.